In Star Citizen, for years there's been a widely settled notion by the community that piracy doesn't exist in the game's current build.
Missing mechanics,
no mention by the developers,
misunderstanding of the game's direction, and many other reasons have contributed to their belief of this notion.
Until now, at least.
We in Mongrel Squad are among the few that had begun the campaign for piracy development in Star Citizen many years ago.
When all you could really do is capture someone's ship in Arena Commander.
From then, all the way to now.
The game in its current state has allowed us and other pirate groups to flourish.
As a result of our thoughts and message, in the last 8 months,
we've noticed many more players have been racing the black,
posting content,
starting their own orgs, and shattering that very notion.
We are overjoyed to see how far this gameplay has come,
and the strides the community has taken to bring it this far.
In an effort to take it even further in development,
and to breed more players that are keen and going on the account,
we feel a duty to share the skills, experience, and knowledge that we've gained over the years with you.
So that you can start doing piracy right.
And thus,
welcome to the Mongrel Piracy Academy.
Just like there is no distinct pirate ship within Star Citizen, there are no specific tools for the task either. All of the equipment we use are also made for and used by bounty hunters, miners, and PMCs alike. The difference comes down to our intent when we use them. While we don't like to pretend to know what CIG is thinking, this is most likely why you don't see tasks on the roadmap that specifically relate to piracy. We're going to be starting off with your ship, the tool that you're going to be using the most frequently, and giving you things to consider when kitting them out. We know we said in the last episode that we're not going to sit here and tell you to use this ship with these components. However, we didn't say that we were going to tell you what not to use. We can tell you now with absolute confidence that you must not use stock components on your ship for piracy. Ever. It's important to understand that the stock configuration is the components that a developer has assumed will work for the ship under normal use. When doing piracy, you're not using those ships under normal circumstances, and quite frankly, you're going to be pushing your ship to the limit. You're going to need more from your ships. Therefore, upgrading them is paramount. When choosing components, you need to find the right balance between power usage and signature reduction. However, it would behoove you to remember that you're there to do piracy, so you're not intending to be hidden forever. If you can find compromises for the equipment that you choose, like mil-spec shield components but turning them off to reduce your EM signature, then you should strongly consider those options to build out your ships and vehicles. We've also spoken about the use of direct distortion weapons on your ships. As mentioned earlier, distortion repeaters and scatterguns are useful for stripping shield quadrants on a target. We recommend focusing your point of aim on a specific shield quadrant to get it down as quickly as possible to enable your EMPs to be effective. Just remember though that distortion weapons cannot kill a target, so if your intent is to kill the target or at least cover all your bases, throw some lethal weapons into the mix. Your ship's EMP sits among the most important tools you have as a pirate, and the use of it is quite simple. Your EMP will always be off by default, so when you turn your ship on, make sure to turn it on manually through the MFD. Once it's on, pressing your secondary fire button will charge your EMP, giving you a visual indicator via the bright blue ball that surrounds your ship. Unleash your EMP by pressing your secondary fire button again, and letting it charge all the way before firing will put out the most distortion damage. The EMP will have a short cooldown before you can use it again. Overclocking your EMP can increase its distortion potential at the risk of damaging your EMP. We don't recommend doing it as it can render it useless if it's left overclocked and used too frequently. EMPs have a minimum and maximum range of effect which is based on how much it can be charged for. When firing your EMP, our recommendation is to get as close to the target as you can without crashing into it. At higher speeds, it's best to practice to drop your EMP as close to the nose of the target ship as possible to help compensate for the desync between clients that you'll experience if your target decides to run. You may find that you need to adjust for the desync more by dropping the EMP further in front of the direction your target is traveling in at higher speeds. If your intent is to disable your target, you will need to remove its shields. You can do this either by shooting them or dropping a shield quadrant and then EMPing the target. You'll know if you land a successful EMP strike when you see the target's shields flash and they start to shrink. Once the shields are down, repeat the EMP process. You'll know if you disabled the target with an EMP when you see the target's EM value drop to 0. If your target decides to run, knowing how to properly employ your QED capabilities can be the difference between plundering sweet booty or watching it quantum travel away. The dampener, unlike the snare, has the benefit of being able to be toggled on and off like a light switch. You'll end up using the dampener more on the terrestrial surfaces or nearby outposts, where the snare's green zone limitation near an armistice zone makes it impossible to use. Bear in mind though, you will need to stay within 2 kilometers of your target to ensure that it cannot escape into quantum travel. Many times we have watched targets quantum travel away when we've been within the 2 kilometer range. But the target saw us further away, so we recommend getting closer to compensate for that potential desync, especially at higher speeds. Using the quantum snare is a bit more involved. The snare has a lengthy charge up and cooldown time, and once activated, will remain active for around 30 minutes before your ship experiences overheating. During cooldown, you cannot activate the dampener, and you will have to wait until the cooldown is finished to use it again. You also need to understand the limitations of the snare. As per the previous episode, the snare is 40 kilometers in diameter, which in the vastness of space isn't a lot. So the position of the mantis is paramount when attempting to use it to snare targets out of quantum travel. We have found the easiest way to set up a snare is to get as close to the center line of travel between the locations your target will be traveling from and position the ship as close to the target's intended destination as possible. When you arrive on the same center line of travel as your target, jump back toward the destination. You want to cut your jump before you reach the limit that the snare's bubble is able to cover all of the ingress points from your target's starting location. Also, you don't want to drop out too close to the destination because you'll end up being caught by the planet's rotational influence. You obviously won't have to worry about this if the target is traveling to a static location like a rest stop. It's worth noting that this is a very rudimentary explanation of setting up a snare, and there's a lot more details and math involved to pull something like this off. A fellow pirate by the name of Space Cutlet has a video that dives deep into this subject, explaining and demonstrating the science behind these kinds of operations, and we highly recommend that you check it out. Going into stealth mode is quite easy to achieve. Your goal when going into stealth is to reduce your EM and IR signatures as low as possible. Therefore, knowing which components on your ship create a lot of EM and IR that contribute to your signature is extremely important, as they can help you inform your decisions on how to load out your ships now and in the future. You should also be aware that CIG is developing the emission system to include environmental effects such as ambient temperature and obstacles to help obscure detection, which will be coming soon. On most ships with non-stealth component loadouts, your shield generators will use the most amount of EM, so turning them off is normally the most that you need to do. Just remember to turn them back on before pushing onto your target, or else you won't live long enough to be much help to anyone. Extortion and ransom piracy necessitate the use of Star Citizen's inbuilt communication system to talk to the target you're trying to pirate. This communications platform involves text and voice over internet protocol, or VoIP. The 3 methods of text communication can be done through global chat, direct messages, and private group channels. When it comes to voice communication, Star Citizen has the capability of proximity VoIP, party comms, and direct voice calls to other players. If you're unfamiliar with how VoIP works in-game, we recommend watching this video in the card in the top right corner of the screen to learn more about the intricacies of using VoIP. It's an excellent and well-explained guide on how to use VoIP and how to get it working. When trying to communicate with your target, you should always attempt voice comms first and then text. It's quite common for players to switch off their chat in their helmet's HUD, so you may need to try multiple methods of gaining their attention before they even realize that you're trying to reach them. Due to Star Citizen being in development still, the VoIP feature can at times not work at all and require the use of text comms. There is no visual indication to show that they've seen or heard your messages, so you'll need to set your own cutoff point of attempting comms if you're getting no responses from your target. At least you can say that you tried. We're not going to go over every single ship whose doors you can and can't open, as this can change over the different patch cycles. However, the principle of opening locked doors is the same regardless of the ship. Just apply damage until they're open. This can be done with the multi-tool cutting attachment, FPS weapons, and ship weapons. Internal doors on most of the older ships can be opened by anyone by just interacting with them. However, ships like the Mercury Star Runner and the Hercules Starlifter have doors that are lockable, with the latter's door that lead to the cockpit having their lock buttons only on one side, preventing others from unlocking the doors. At the time of this video, shooting those doors open is not at all consistent, and almost never works, but we understand that this will be properly addressed in the future with the introduction of those lovely breaching charges from Bearing. The tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool can be used in one of two ways. Its primary purpose is to allow you to move objects from a distance, but in EVA it can be used to latch onto larger objects. It's limited to being able to exert 2,500 newtons of force on an object, or more easily to remember, 250 kilograms in 1G. It cannot be used on other players or NPCs, and you can't combine multiple beams on the same target to increase the lifting or movement power. To use it, you just point at the object you want to lift and left-click to lift it. Use the scroll wheel to push and pull the object, and hold R while moving your mouse to rotate it. To use it as a grapple gun, aim it at the object that has a mass of more than 250 kilograms, left-click and hold. This can only be done in EVA and on slow-moving or static objects, so no space skiing yet. As stated in an earlier episode, you can use mission delivery boxes and mission crypto keys as tracking beacons. Miners can use these same items to mark locations where large, profitable mining nodes are for their mining crews to mine, so that the mining team can spend less time scouting and more time mining. Jesus Christ. My God, dude. Hey, who even writes that stuff? That line was definitely something. I mean, it's a combined effort by a lot of people. And who even let you in here anyway? Dude, I bet I can make a drinking game with the amount of times that you say either the word mining or pirate. And I'd rather you didn't, because I really have to get this thing finished. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get the rum out right now. Woo! Oh my God. Look, man, can you just get out of here, please? We as pirates use the items as tracking beacons by placing them onto a potential target ship. So that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Mongrel Pirate Academy. The next episode is going to be dedicated to the actual hunting of targets. We're going to be getting into the specifics of how to hunt specific targets like cargo haulers, rock miners, ore miners, and the like. You'll end up learning what to look for when on the hunt for these targets, and we'll also revise the tools you can use to help you out on the hunt. Piracy is not easy to do, and it takes a team effort, with everyone working hard together to achieve a successful outcome. The reality is that you're going to have failures. You're not going to be making hundreds of thousands of credits on every single hit. You're going to get called names, and you have to accept that people don't like what we do. But if you're serious about becoming a pirate in Star Citizen, then you have to remember, pirates take what they want, and they don't wait for permission. It's not perfect, but if you have a team and the drive to push you through multiple failures, which you will have, then you can make piracy work for you. I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.